And 14 times winner Real Madrid will take on Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League final on Saturday. Both teams have arrived in London ahead of the most crucial match. Take a look at this report.
The Real Madrid squad arrived in London to a warm welcome from a noisy contingent of their fans ahead of the UEFA Champions League final at the Wembley Stadium. The Spanish champions are hoping to win a European football's elite club competition for a record-extending 15th time when they take on German side Borussia Dortmund on Saturday. Real Madrid manager Carlo Ancelotti advised his players to enjoy the moment as they step into the finals.
Es una semana para disfrutar.
The cold sweat comes on Saturday afternoon. I know I am ready. This cold sweat and fear will arrive on Saturday afternoon. This is quite normal. It is always like that in this kind of matches I have experienced. My team gives me a lot of confidence, a lot of illusion because I see them focused on the match. They are in champions mood, so I have a lot of confidence.
Meanwhile, Borussia Dortmund head coach Edin Terzic is confident that his side can break Real Madrid's winning run when they meet in the finals.
Ist doch logisch. Also das Allerwichtigste.
The absolute champion in the history of football and especially in this competition is waiting for us, the absolute final boss. If we want to put it in modern language, but I am firmly convinced that anything is possible in a single match. If anyone has shown that you can achieve a lot in one match, it is us, especially this season, especially in this competition. And that's why it's time for this run to come to an end. I think they have been in the Champions League final 8 times and they have never lost. But the important thing is not what happened in the last 8 finals, but what happens in the next one. And we are responsible for that.
The 14-time winners Real Madrid travelled without goalkeeper Andre Lunin, who was recovering from a flu. He will travel on Saturday to rejoin the squad in the finals. Ancelotti, along with his players and staff, will be aiming to claim a record-extending 15th European title for the Spanish giants. Meanwhile, Borussia Dortmund are clear underdogs for the final. Their surprise European run this season is in sharp contrast to their rollercoaster domestic campaigns. Both Spanish and German soccer fans began gathering in London to see the Champions League trophy put on display ahead of this year's final. The trophy was carried onto stage in a fans' festival in Trafalgar Square by former Champions League winner John Obi Mikel, who is now a UEFA ambassador. Sports Desk, DD India.
And for more, Oli Barrett joins us from London. Well, Oli, Real Madrid arrived in London for the 18th final. Spanish giants are hoping to win European football's elite club competition for a record-extending 15th time. How are they preparing for the final and what Ancelotti will be saying to his men?
I'm sure that Ancelotti will be saying to his Real Madrid men that they've won it as a club many times before and they can show that winning mentality to win it again. If they do hit that 15th, they are basically twice as successful as anyone else in Europe at winning Champions League titles, and they are much more successful than Borussia Dortmund, who have won UCL title back in 1997. They are absolutely the favourites in this game, and their preparations, I'm sure, will have been fairly smooth, partly because they've been here so many times before when it comes to Champions League finals. There is the small issue of the goalkeeping position and whether Lunin will be fit or not, having been ill this week and having joined up with his teammates rather later than the rest of the squad. But for the most part, the preparation has been pretty smooth for Carlo Ancelotti. If there's anything that he will need to guard against with his Real Madrid squad, given the record of the team in this competition and indeed the record of the team this season in other competitions, then the one thing he might have to guard against is complacency. But that's not a problem that Real Madrid have had in the past.
All right. You said they're absolutely the favourite, but Borussia Dortmund, if you talk about, are clear underdogs for the final, and their surprise European run this season in sharp contrast to the rollercoaster domestic campaigns. What do you make out of this?
Indeed, very much a surprise given their domestic form, but they have hit very good form towards the latter stages of the Champions League, and they are a huge German club. That said, they've had a bit of a hiccup in the days leading into the final with Mats Hummels criticising, it seemed, the coaching that his squad have been having and the tactics that they've been potentially thinking about employing against Real Madrid, criticising, it seemed, the strategy of Edin Terzic, the manager, heading into the final. So that's exposed some divisions within the squad, even though they've had this very successful run in the Champions League. They do have Jadon Sancho in the team, the Manchester United player, on loan with Borussia Dortmund, his old club, and very excited, he says, to be back in his hometown of London for this Champions League final. Jadon Sancho saying that he is blessed to be playing at Wembley in this game, and he will be going up against another Englishman, Jude Bellingham, the player of the season in La Liga. So there is English interest in the game held in England, even if we don't have an English club representing the country at the National Stadium.
All right. How do you look at the Madrid squad? They boast of some strong names in Luka Modric, Toni Kroos and Jude Bellingham.
Madrid do have a very strong squad indeed. Jude Bellingham, the player of the season in La Liga, has been the catalyst for much of their goal scoring in this season in various different competitions. Toni Kroos, you mentioned there, has been important for them as well. This will be his final game in club football, so how he would like to go out with a Champions League medal right at the very top of the club game. There are many who think actually he could continue with a few more seasons at this level if he wanted to, but clearly he's decided to try and go out right at the very top. Luka Modric, we think, will probably stay at Real Madrid for a season or two longer despite his advancing years. And those three players we mentioned there, Modric, Kroos, Bellingham, in whatever combination they either play in the game or start in the game or start on the bench, that is a very powerful midfield that they have. And so, as you were saying, Madrid absolutely go into this game as the favourites, not just because of the stellar squad that they have, but also because of their recent form and their long history in this competition.
All right, Ollie, as you said, Madrid also have a predictably positive record against Dortmund. They have won 6 out of the 14 matches between them in Champions League. So while Dortmund have managed 3 victories, do you think Dortmund can turn around? What's your prediction?
I've learned a long time ago not to make predictions if I can possibly help it, but you have to say that Madrid are very strong favourites for this game. That's not to say that Dortmund don't have a chance. They absolutely do have a chance in this game, and we've seen already in this competition that you can control games completely and not go through. Just look at Manchester City versus Real Madrid in the semi-finals, a game in which Manchester City had all of the possession but couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. So Dortmund will go into this game feeling that they have a chance. They'll be loudly supported at Wembley, as will Real Madrid. In terms of predictions, the favourites, let's put it that way, are clearly Real Madrid.
Okay, so the favourites are quite clear. Thank you so much, Ollie, for all that information from there. And moving on, former Real Madrid midfielder Claude Makelele brought the Champions League trophy to London's Regent Street on Thursday ahead of Saturday's final at Wembley. The Royal Philharmonic Concert Orchestra played the tournament's anthem as Makelele lifted the trophy up in the air before placing it on a plinth. Makelele was full of praise for Real Madrid, believing they should beat Borussia Dortmund on Saturday and have a successful European Championship. However, Makelele did warn his former club against underestimating Borussia Dortmund, who have defied all the odds to reach their third finals.
I think it's not a surprise they're in the final. I love this team because I see them the way I am, like humility, sagesse, play together, you have unity inside this team. No too much big player, big name. But I think Madrid need to be careful because Dortmund have history, big history in Germany. Where Madrid win a lot of trophies because it's a symbol, it's a t-shirt, it's so heavy. You have only one obligation, one of you have in the final is winning.